It's Wednesday at 8:45 p.m. It's time for EOP. I'm Freddie Burns.
And I'm Joey Sheeran.
What's up, Joseph? Al
What's going on, bud?
For tonight. And me and Joe, Slagger. Me and Joe are going to bring you some Phillies talk, as well as we're going to jump in to our Final 53. See, we won't see you before the cuts are done next week, because next week's show, that'll be the cuts are in. Tuesday the 29th is the deadline. So we're going to jump into our Final 53 with the Eagles amid the Colts preseason game tomorrow night. Also, there's some Jonathan Taylor trade rumors swirling. Will that happen? Can that happen? As of 2 hours ago, it seems like more reporters were reporting a possible blockbuster deal. But before we get into all that, I just want to thank our sponsors, cherryinjurylaw.com, sherrystickets.com, and phillysportstrips.com. We'll get into all those individually as the show goes. But let's kick this off with our resilient bunch of Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies take 2 of 3 from the San Francisco Giants, a walk-off win last night. They lose today, but they come back in the bottom of the 9th. Bryce Harper with a 3-run home run off the foul pole. I could not be getting more 07, 08, 09, 11 vibes. Like, that's what it feels like. The crowd looks like it down there, and it just, every game, it's like you don't turn it off. Even in the 9th, you're like, we're never out. They lose 8-6, but even then, they were a 2-run homer away. So what's your feelings on this team right now? I'm so excited.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's like, it's almost hard to put it in words at sometimes because of just the excitement that comes with this team game in and game out. I mean, going into that 9th inning, down 3 runs, like, you still had that optimistic feeling, knowing who was coming at bat, thinking this can happen. And it did happen. Ultimately, they did lose. I mean, it's never a good feeling to lose. But, I mean, just the way that they always seem to be in it. They're the Fightins. It's literally what they do. They fight to the end. This is not what we have felt, before last season, really. I mean, especially now with this season, it just seems like there is just a new team, a new vibe, a new energy within the city. I mean, and that's even saying much because we went to the freaking World Series last year. And now here we are, the audience, the fans, the attendance continue to stay up to, towards sold out status. And I mean, the Phillies are back, man. This city has become a baseball town again. It really, I mean, Eagles are just starting, but I mean, everybody is so high on the Phillies right now. And it's must see TV again. It doesn't matter if they're down 3, 4, 5 in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. You still have that feeling that there's going to be some type of celebration after 9 innings. And more often than not, I mean, that's the way it's been so far.
It's just the elation I have watching them. It's just so fun. I can't describe it. They're resilient. They're exciting even when they lose. And a lot of. You got to ride the highs and lows of the roller coaster of baseball. I don't really let myself get too low when they lose 3 in a row.
Yeah.
A bunch that's just not me, especially proving what they did last year, going to the finals, the World Series. And, I know it's a streaky club and the bats get hot and cold, but my God, I don't know the stat. They added to it today. I know you made the post. What's it? It's got to be 35 home runs. I mean, how many they hit today?
It was 39 yesterday, and then they had another 3 today. So 42.
42 home runs in the month of August. We still got 7. We got 8 days left. Well, today doesn't count. So then we got 7 days left.
Yeah.
August.
Schwarber hit his 34th or 50th, oh my gosh, 34th or 35th home run today. I forget which one it was. But, I mean, he won the NL, home run last year with 46. I mean, there's a chance that he outperforms that. And everyone's still saying, oh, send him down to the minors. And, oh, his strikeout rate, boo-hoo. Who cares? It's over. Let the man live.
I did some digging on Schwarber with the leadoff stuff, and his OPS is 5th on the team, so it's not as horrible. And the next, like, a lot of people will say Stott should be leadoff, and he's 3rd in OPS. He's a as of yesterday, anyhow, is a .341, 341. Schwarber's 327. They're not that far off. Different.
No, not at all. Not at all.
then
And I mean, to bringing up Stott, you got to look at the entire bottom of the lineup. I mean, Bone, when he was down there, Brandon Marsh, I put up a post earlier about his stats, his transformation from last season to this season. And the stats are just unbelievable. Like everyone has taken a step forward this season, especially the youth. And I mean, it's just another pat on the back for Dombrowski he made the Marsh trade. I mean, he's making these little moves, not going and overspending in the trade deadline, letting Rojas, feast. I mean, this is a team that is being run correctly again, finally. And I mean, we have years of this to come, in my opinion. I absolutely love it.
Can we talk about Schwarber a little bit?
Sure.
Was reading, so I was taught the OPS, obviously that's a lot closer. He's well above in home runs. And then the other thing, what you want in a leadoff hitter is walks.
Mm-hmm.
And he leads the team in walks as he was at 93 yesterday. What do you think the next best number under 93 is?
It's not. I'm going to bet it's almost half of that. I would say it's probably around like somewhere between 50 to 55.
50. So
wow.
93, and the next best is Bryce Harper at 50. And Harper was injured for a
yeah.
good two.
For 2 months.
So for Harper to be the second on the team and him to have all them walks. Now, of course, the problem is the strikeouts that are absolutely astronomical. Topper was pressed yesterday or today on the leadoff. What will it take to make Trey Turner the leadoff? And he said probably an injury to Schwarber is what would make that happen.
What way to speak that into existence.
Schwarber got injured today?
No. I'm just saying, what if? Like,
I know. So John Ritchie was Ritchie in the camera. So Ritchie goes, okay, so then pretty much he's the leadoff, and Topper's like, yep. So like all this talk, and I get in group texts with my friends and like coworkers at work. We have these like discussions, and I feel like it's just like we're at the point now we have to trust Thompson and stop talking about it. Like, it's not going to change. He is going to stick with this lineup with him as leadoff. The record speaks for itself. A lot of people say they win in spite of his strikeouts. He's a part of these wins, dude, especially this past month.
100%.
Like, his wins are unbelievable. So I think I'm going to pump the brakes on even I would like a different person in the leadoff, but that's not the way it's going to happen. So just let it go. Or what are your thoughts on him being leadoff?
I think a lot of this, chatter about him is because he is in leadoff. In my, experience watching baseball for a very long time, you have these power hitters, these home run hitters who often strike out. And it's usually they're right around the cleanup position. So if if Kyle Schwarber was batting in the 4 or 5 hole, and he's still hitting all these home runs, he still has the on-base percentage, but he's striking out a lot. Is it still that big of a deal? See, I don't think it is. I think it all comes from him being in the leadoff. And it's not like this is this crazy notion that Kyle Schwarber can't be in the leadoff spot, because outside of the Phillies, we've seen him do it for 2 other teams that he was a part of in the past. So, I mean, it's not like crazy that Kyle Schwarber is still being, locked into this leadoff position. Again, because if he was anywhere else in the lineup, I don't think anybody is really caring about the batting average when he's hitting up to 35 home runs already in mid-August.
Dude, you bring up a really good point. If he was down in the lineup, that'd be the case. You're right. People just are stuck on, and I am a fault to this whole old school leadoff mentality, and it's just not something that's going to be. So we just need to move on from that. You just talked about Marsh. Unbelievable, the increase in his stats. One guy that, shout out to you got to give a lot of credit to the Phillies hitting coach. And then also one guy that called this from the second week was Charlie Manuel. I was listening to him on and it was the second week, and he's like, no, I can see this guy's a hitter. He just has to make a few adjustments. I could tell by the way he stood at the plate. And I was like, we'll see. And lo and behold, this guy's a pretty good hitter. The lineup from top to bottom, as far as offense goes, is there really a hole that concerns you? I mean, JT's struggling mightily right now. But, like, I wouldn't say we need a new catcher. You know what I mean?
No. The only person I would want to see more production out of at the plate is Rojas. But, I mean, he is such a fire starter in center field. I mean, he lays out for some balls sometimes, and sometimes it scoots under the glove. But, I mean, he also was out there running his tail off and making some spectacular catches. I mean, hell, he was a big contributor of the no-hitter the other day. I think he had like 8 or 9 fly balls to him. If he doesn't, if he's not on those high horse chasing them down, Michael Lorenzen doesn't have this, this historic achievement in his career. So, I mean, when it comes to your question of is there any type of flaw or hole in their lineup, it's Rojas. But then how can I get so mad at him when he's been with the main club for what, 3 weeks? I mean, at least as a steady player. And that came by an injury, and he's played well enough to stay with the big club. So, I mean, that's my only real gripe with any of it, and it's not really even that big of one because of how inexperienced he is still, but he's contributing in the field, and that's where some of their lows were in their defense. And there's still a question mark with left field, but now with Rojas being able to cover so much ground, it makes me feel a little bit better about Schwarber being at left continuously.
I would say I agree. He does hide some of those flaws in the outfield. Do you think coming down the pike playoff time, there may be a situation where we're going to just have to go with Jake Cave out there and then move Schwarber to DH in the playoffs?
I can see it going that way, but then that also means that Bryce is an everyday first baseman.
Correct.
I mean,
you're just going to have to platoon him because I cannot get away from Bryce at first baseman. Bryce is the first baseman. He's the best first baseman I've probably ever seen play in a Phillies uniform, besides from a field perspective in this limited time. It really is. I know we talked, but I really haven't seen fielding like this. Like, I love Ryan Howard. I got his head right over here, like the big piece right there in the corner, like huge. One of my favorite Phillies first baseman, but now it's Bryce Harper.
Dude, and it's funny. I went out on a limb like a week ago or whatever it was, and I truly believe this. I truly do believe that Bryce Harper has taken over as my favorite Philly of all time, and already only 4 years. And that's with watching Chase for X amount of years, winning a championship with the club. But I can't get over Bryce Harper, and it's not only the work ethic, the fire on the field, just everything about him when it comes to baseball, but just the way that he has embodied and has become so beloved within our city and how he embraces everything about Philadelphia. I mean, and then he has 3 home runs in 3 straight games. And then it's stuff like tonight where he hits that 3-run home run to tie the game. And I'm running around my house and I'm going, how can anyone tell me that this guy is not the best Philly of all time? I mean, this guy comes up clutch in the most clutch moments. I mean, just bedlam at the bank. It's one of my favorite phrases of all time now. And that doesn't happen if Bryce Harper doesn't put that team on his shoulders at that at bat and get that call from Scott Fransky because of that go ahead home run. I mean, this guy is he's a legend. He's already a legend here in Philadelphia. 4 seasons. That's all it took.
I was saying it last year when he hit the home run that I really didn't think I was being a prisoner of the moment. But for me personally, I feel like he passed Brian Dawkins for me all time.
Wow.
Like I really am there with him, and it's all because of all the other stuff he does outside of being a player. I don't know I'm there yet. I right now I'm just very excited. But like if he wins a championship, it's going to be hard not for me because Dawk didn't win one. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and if this guy's night in and night out, like Dawk was 16, 6. He's almost like Reggie White to the Packers. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
All the success was with the Nationals, and then Reggie goes to the Packers, and we still love him, but there's that little like, he's and the Packers treat it as a Packer. They don't even really recognize the Eagle stuff. I almost feel like when he came here, he's our Reggie White, and it's like we love, like, he's just it's so hard. I'm so scared he's going to have like a struggling period that the fans are going to get on him, and this honeymoon phase is going to end, but it just won't end. Like, through all these injuries, all these problems, he just can't be denied. He continues to be that dude.
I think that is such a great comparison that you just had there, because Reggie White, he retired as a Packer. He went to the Hall of Fame as a Packer because he won a championship there. He almost didn't recognize the Eagles as a part of his past as much as everybody else. And with what Bryce Harper said last week after the Trey Turner ovation stuff, he says he wished he would have started his career here in Philadelphia. I mean, with one sentence, he took away everything that he did down south in D.C. for the Nationals. So you're right. He will probably. I mean, he's got 9, 10 more years here in Philadelphia if he plays out his contract. I mean, he will be recognized as a Philly for life. I think that's an amazing comparison.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other day, and I meant to say it, but Phillies. Let's just real quick. We'll get to the Eagles, but real quick, I'm going to pull up here the standings here. So the division is kind of pretty much out of reach, but with the loss today, it says 3 here on the website, but the Phillies are now 2.5 up in the wild card. I'm looking at it here now. The Cubs are 2.5 behind us, and then you got Arizona, Cincinnati, San Francisco. Miami's still out there, 1.5 back to get in there. We got a series coming up with them in a few weeks. I guess there is a scenario where they would not make the playoffs, but I just can't envision a collapse. I don't want to jinx them, but I just don't see a scenario here. I just feel like they'll at least play 500 ball the rest of the way, 12-10, maybe something like that, or right above that. And I think that's going to be enough to do it.
Well, I know a majority of their games left are at home, and they're playing 600 ball at home. So if they continue that streak, I mean, I don't see how they can lose out in the wild card to make the playoffs. I know they still have 6 more against the Braves. I checked the standings last night as well. Couldn't believe that they were still 12 games behind the Braves, and the Braves had 44 losses on the season. I mean, I just have to at this point give it up to the Braves and say, okay, they are a good team. And it's funny when it comes to the Phillies, because you watch a game like last night, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying to my wife, I'm like, oh, I got to get to a game. Look at the back. They're going nuts. And she's like, dude, you were there last week. I'm like, I know, but I feel like I haven't been there in so long because of all the excitement that's going on. And then she goes, wait a minute, we're going on Saturday. I go, I know, but I got to get there as soon as possible. I mean, right. It's electric. It's just being back in the bank with a full stadium and meaningful baseball the way it was in our mid-20s, where the bank was the place to be. And now here we are as married with kids and stuff, and now we get the chance to take our kids down to these types of things, and it's just kind of moving to the next generation of it all. And it makes me speechless at times. I love this moment.
It certainly is the place to be, and the place to get tickets is Sherry'sTickets.com. www.SherryTickets.com. Sports concerts, theaters, great prices, no hidden fees. Phillies fans save big at Sherry's Ticket Town. And guess what? We can save you even more with the promo code EOP10. Save 10%. Get your tickets to the Phillies and even the Eagles. Last week, I got tickets from Sherry's Tickets preseason game. Watch the prices drop. Pop them in. I had 14 rows off the field, $25 a pop, and I used that EOP 10, got another 10% off. Go to Sherry'sTickets.com right now. Get your tickets today. So,
first off, that's an amazing price for 14 rows off the field. And it's funny, I've been watching the Rich Eisen show on a Roku channel. It's from noon to 3. It's really cool. They talk all football, and it's, league wide. And the guy was talking about going to a Rams preseason game, and they all kind of stopped in their tracks and they're like, man, you are a fan when you're going to a preseason game. And here you were just there, last Thursday. That's awesome.
And the preseason games, what's cool about them is when you have kids, it's the perfect way to bring kids to a game because if the interest starts to wane or if it gets that, you can leave at halftime, not miss anything. The prices drop dramatically right before kickoff because people are just trying to get rid of them. So like 2 hours before the game, you'll see them drop, and that's why I jumped on it. And it's just a great experience. Who's jumping in here? Quentin Foles? Greater than Foles. Oh, yeah. Foles isn't – I love Foles, Quentin, and he'll always have a special place in my heart. But outside like of games where he got streaky with the Eagles, he was an average quarterback, above average at times, definitely above average as an Eagle. So, like, I love him for that first Super Bowl, and it was so magical. I'm not trying to diminish him. He's up there. He's probably in my Mount Rushmore depth, top 5, top 10. But I just, over the period over the course of his entire career, I can't put him 1 or probably even top 5 now that I'm talking, due to all the other players that played at such a high level for such a longer time. Where does Foles fall for you, Joe?
See, I think I'm with you. Like, I have so much love for that man, and like, it's funny, like seeing him now talk. Like he was on Takeoff with John Clark last week, and he said, when jokingly, I think he said, or he's just being so humble, like he's like kind of delusional. I mean, the man has a statue outside of the Lincoln Financial Field. But where I'm going with this is, he said when he does finally decide to hang it up, he hopes to, call it a day as an Eagle if we'll have him. And it's like, really, like I understand you're humble, but you have to know that you brought the first Lombardi to Philadelphia. You got a trophy here. You have one of the best plays run and completed and successful in Super Bowl history with Philly, and it was your call. Yeah, there's a chance you don't sign a one-day contract with the Eagles. I mean, come on.
I know he's so like, proper and polite. Sometimes it's like, come on, just we know you're coming back. But yeah, definitely Foles is up there, just not number 1 for me.
Yeah, it's like, because there's so many Eagles. There really is. I mean, there's Dawkins. Brian Westbrook will always be one of my favorites. You have to say Donovan McNabb is the best quarterback in franchise history. And it's hard to really put in a ranking of where Foles should be, because, I mean, he is the only one who, brought us to the promised land and, won the championship. So it's tough. I mean, I'll always have love for him. I don't know exactly where to rank him, if I'm being honest.
So Philly was Foles' call. You're right. I correct my friends all the time on my group text on that. It was his call. But
yeah.
Doug could have been like, no, we're not doing that. Are you crazy? But Doug went with
Big Balls Doug and Big Dick Nick on 4th down. They went for it all, and they got it.
But that is a perfect segue into our Eagles, and we're going to get into our final 53. But before we do that, trade rumors are beginning to pick up. Now, there was an amazing post by you, Joe, and you called it Taylor Swift. Which my daughter, I showed it to her. I was like, dude, look how cool this would be. And I really didn't put much stock in it. I thought it was a cool post, but I thought, no shot, Jonathan Taylor comes here. Now, in the past hour, what would be 4 hours now, there's starting to be rumblings from different NFL writers and cover media that there is actually conversations going on about a blockbuster trade that would bring Jonathan Taylor to the Eagles. Do you think this is real, 1? And then 2, does it make sense it definitely makes sense for a running back, like no doubt about it. But financially, are they going to have to pay him? All that.
Number 1, yeah, they'll have to pay him. But when it comes to paying players and Haley Roseman, I really have no qualms about it at all, because just of the wizardry. I know I said that word wrong, but I'm going to move on. The way he does it, like, he can. I don't care if he gives them $50 million guaranteed dollars, and then he's on the roster for like salary for like $1 million. Like, it doesn't hit the cap. Like, he has these little ways of doing things that it just does not affect the team's spending. I think that's something different that we have than a majority of other football clubs, don't have. Does it make sense for it to happen? Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, if you really want to put this team over as an offensive juggernaut, and let's face it, offense wins games, and it's what's sexy about the games. And then of course, you have the defense that has a reputation of their own, which is somehow improved on a 70 sack, team last year. It's weird. Jonathan Taylor's in Philadelphia. Like, it's weird that all of this is going down when he's actually here. And Haley can go right, across the hall and, try and work something out with the Colts, whatever is in town, the GM, the owner, whoever may be here. Like, they are right across the hall from each other at this moment, or they can meet up in the hotel bar or whatever it may be. Like, if the Eagles are serious about this, I think they do have a leg up on it because they have the opportunity right now in person to try and work these things out. I think if it comes to a money standpoint, I think the Eagles will probably do whatever they need to do to get it to happen, because there's no stopping that offense if Jonathan Taylor is on the team. He's 24 years old, and he's been stellar. Like, you have to think he's been in the league already for 3 years. And he's been great every single year that he's been healthy. It just makes this offense more dynamic. It would be what they have to give up, because, of course, there's going to be draft compensation. I think the Eagles having an extra 2 is really what could put them over the top with getting this done, because, I mean, it's that you can give up either yours or the Saints' second-round pick, and the consensus is already out there that when this gets done, it's not going to be for multiple first-round picks or anything, because of everybody knowing the situation and how dire it is, and how Taylor and whatever the hell his name is, the owner, saying, like, it's just not going to happen. They're not paying him the money. He's saying the relationship is over. Every team hawks over this stuff, and they know that they can, wheel and deal with them. So Eagles have an extra 2. They can give them DeAndre Swift. They can give them Kenny Gainwell. It depends on what type of back they want in return, receiving, or, a slasher, out of the backfield. They have the compensation. They have the piece in the backfield that they can give in return, because the Colts right now, all their other running backs have question marks on them, or questionables on them. And the Colts are the one team who really need Jonathan Taylor right now, and he's going to go bye-bye. So they're going to need a back in return with compensation, and I do think the Eagles have it. They have it all that they would want.
And I think Penny might be a guy that might fit better with Shane Steichen in the way he wants to do things, as opposed
very possible
Taylor style. And then Steichen loves Gainwell from his time here. So I really think that's a give them Mariota as Quentin Moore, if it was only that. But, thanks for chiming in too, by the way, Quentin. Everyone listening, really appreciate the support. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button, share us out, tweet us out, keep the comments coming in. We'll keep responding to them. Thank you very much for the support. We appreciate it. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, the running back, I'm in. But any type of long-term financial deal to any running back, I can't be in on. To your point, though, Howie, if he has a way that it's only a multi-year deal, so say we load him up this year and next year, and then it doesn't, and then we can cut him, fine, because the running back position will be washed up. By year 5, 6, they're done. You see it now. Dalvin Cook gone. Elliott, we have the conversation every year. Like, these are first-round picks. Saquon Barkley, another one. You know what I mean? They're not what they were. So, like, for this year, yes, Jonathan Taylor. For this year plus 3-4 years, I'm good. So that's my take on it. But definitely could push us over the hump for a Super Bowl this year. And, Taylor Swift, the T-shirts being made, everything, and her having ties to the Eagle, being a Philadelphia sports fan, would be pretty cool as well.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
But if you want to travel to any of the games, boy, do we have the place for you. And that's phillysportstrips.com. They got a good one coming up in Tampa Bay. Book a trip today. The Birds' ultimate trip, Tampa trip, September 22nd to the 26th. They're featuring Hollis Thomas, Vince Papale, and David Akers. You will also be able to join Tampa's original Philly of the South fan club. They got a nice bar they hang out down there. 97.5 is involved. Should be a great trip. Go to phillysportstrips.com. Book a trip today. They also have a trip in October going to Washington once again. Jason Avant and Hollis Thomas will be there. They are the official sports travel group of the Union. They got the Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, all types of stuff. I mean, you could book a trip to the Phillies in London against the Mets right now, get a deposit in and start paying for it for next June. Another great option. Check out phillysportstrips.com today. Now, Eagles' final preseason game is tomorrow. Big for a lot of guys. I think both of us agreed. None of the starters will play likely. So it's a big for some people on the fringe bubble, but I think the majority of the 53 is probably determined by the Eagles. So with the camp cuts being August 29th, and our show won't be till after that day, me and Joe said, hey, we're going to pick our 53 tonight. All right. So we're going to kick it off with the quarterback position. And I'll go first on this one. There's been a lot of rumblings and upset people about Marcus Mariota. And rightfully so, because Tanner McKee has played well. I have the stats here somewhere. Let me pull them up here. Preseason stat. Tanner McKee's 20 of 38, 295 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, 87.1 yard rating. Marcus Mariota's 16 for 20, 144 yards, can't talk, 1 interception, 56.2 rating, which is god awful. For me, though, I still think Tanner McKee's been going against second and third and fourth string guys. I'm sorry. And by all accounts, by the beat writers, he gets 0 reps in practice. So people might be a little shocked here, but I think the Eagles keep 2 quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Marcus Mariota, and I think you're going to see more Ian Book tomorrow night, and they're going to hope they can slide Tanner McKee under the radar onto the practice squad. Joe, what do you got for quarterback?
Well, let me ask you this. Is the 3 quarterback to be rostered, is that only a playoff thing? Because now you're allowed to have 3 quarterbacks active. So I don't know if that's...
I believe it's an all-season and playoff thing. It's just the rules now.
Okay, so you're saying even with that rule, they only go with 2 quarterbacks?
Correct.
Okay. I actually think that they do go with 3. Of course, Tanner McKee will be the 3rd string back. As much as I want to take Mariota out of this equation, I know that it's not going to happen. They paid him $5 million, even though I think that there is a bit of a cap savings if they do cut him. My main, tipping point to why Marcus Mariota will remain on this team and be the backup is because with a roster like this, even if, God forbid, something happens to our starting quarterback, I won't even put his name out there with what I'm talking about. God forbid something does happen. They need the experience to go out there and be able to at least have a chance to win. I don't think Tanner McKee will be that chance for them to win. I mean, the defense is there. All the other offensive weapons are there. It's just a quarterback that you need. And we've seen what they've done in the past with backup quarterbacks. It's kind of like they adjust the playbook to the strengths of, said backup. So we know Mariota will be mobile. We know he could throw the ball a little bit, but I do think they'll take the ball out of his hands a lot. And it could be where this backfield really comes into play. And I think that's how they would go forward. If, God forbid, it is Marcus Mariota as your starting quarterback. I think they covet that actual NFL experience and just somebody who has felt the pressures of being in, a real game, outside of a 3rd string, 6th round draft pick at the moment, who everyone is clamoring for to win out the job over Marcus Mariota. But I'm with you with the number 1 and 2. I just do think that they carry a 3rd quarterback in McKee.
A lot of people agree with you, and a good point coming here from Edge of Philly Sports. Also, the $5 million is a good reason. Yeah, that's a good reason to keep him there too. You're not going to have a 3rd string $5 million quarterback. I will say though, if he's god awful, Howie ain't quit. He'll pull the trigger. He'll cut him. But I don't even think they would go to Tanner McKee. I think they would go find another veteran at that point. To your point, Joe, that they're not going to put a rookie in there to come into the game.
You know what? What's funny is I was watching Rich Eisen's show earlier, and on the show it came out live that Sam Darnold got the backup position with the Niners, and there's a question mark of what to do with Trey Lance. I mean, if he ever hits the block, is there a chance that the Eagles go out and get him He's young. He's raw. He could learn a lot under Jalen Hurts.
Depending on the compensation, I would imagine the 49ers gave up so much for him. What, 3 first-round picks that they're
Something
trying
like that,
to get back. So I wouldn't give that up because we have our franchise quarterback to bring him in, you know.
Sure.
He was going away for peanuts, yeah, but I doubt that's what's going to happen. Funny thing, though, I didn't realize this. The offensive coordinator for the 49ers, now the coach of the Miami Dolphins, the name is escaping me, is hilarious that he was on the team. He was on the 49ers staff. They traded for Trey Lance. Traded for Trey Lance, gave the 3 first-round picks to Miami, and then next year and goes to Miami. That's pretty hilarious.
I can't think of his name either, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
So moving on to the running backs, I'll let you go first here. What's your take on how the running backs are going to pan out? They came in 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I know last week I was saying about carrying 5, but that's ridiculous at this point. I don't care what they tell me about Kenny Gainwell being their lead back. I don't believe it for a second. I think DeAndre Swift is going to be your lead back, and then I think Kenny Gainwell, Scott, and I'm going with Trey Sermon. I think they like what they've seen out of him so far, and he has an extra year of controllability on his contract. Opposed to, Penny, who only signed for the 1 year. I definitely could see Penny getting cut, but then it's like, well, why even dress him and give him like 3 or 4 reps or snaps if you're just gonna not really give him an opportunity anyway, if you're not trying to keep him healthy. But I'm gonna go with Trey Sermon on this one. I think he's done enough to at least warrant a roster spot, and we've already seen him play special teams and return some kicks and punts. So I mean, there is another role on this team outside of just being in the backfield for him.
Sean Donlon Jr. checking in, not happening. If you could, thanks for listening. Appreciate all the support and even your comments. Could you elaborate on which part's not happening? Because we were just talking to quarterbacks. We went into the running back, so I'd like to know what you meant by that. I'm going to go running back wise. I agree with you 100%. Gainwell is not the one. If anything, he's going to be a between the tackles guy. I've seen no explosion from this guy at all. He's not the guy we thought we were getting, like when we drafted, like guy spread out. Remember, he was like this elusive guy out of Memphis. Yeah. He does not look like that at all for me. When he runs the ball, he looks actually a little slow. Even that safety, that wasn't his fault. I feel like any other back would have got out of the end and fell forward. I'm totally with you on Kenny Gainwell. However, they love him for some reason. I think Swift is your 1. Kenny Gainwell is your 2. I think they keep Penny. And I think that's it. I think they roll with 3. Boston Scott, I think they'll let go and try to bring back on the practice squad like they did last year. And then eventually he may come up if there's an injury. Trey Sermon, as great as he's looked in preseason, he had that fumble. He had a nice run, the resilience to come back. I just don't see – I think there's a reason why we got him on the cheap, and I just don't think in a league with running backs that you can just get them. I think you can easily cut both of them and just get them on the practice squad and still have them if you need. So I'm going to go with 3 on the running backs.
Well, real quick, I mean, if we're talking Mariota because of his contract, why shouldn't we talk about Boston Scott with his contract? He's getting paid more than any other running back on the team, and I believe it's fully guaranteed.
Isn't it $1 million? What's he making?
He's getting paid. He's getting paid $2 million. He's the highest paid running back on the team.
Then I may have to rescind that because they're definitely not going to just get rid of it.
Right.
I'm pulling up the. The cap hit is actually 1.9 million. So you're right. I'm gonna say it is only 2 million now. But if they have an open spot, you're right. They would probably err to keep the 2 million rather than just give it away. They do love Boston Scott. He has been in that room. He is the giant killer. So if there was a 4, I would say it would be Boston Scott. I would agree there. But I'm gonna go with my original 3. Since I have 53 and I don't want to have to do the math to read.
Got it.
Well, good point there on the contract, no doubt about it. Before we jump into the receivers and other players, I just want to bring this to note so people know. The Eagles did waive Zech McPherson, Tyree Cleveland, and Noah Ellis, All three will be expected to be brought back via the IR, and the Eagles released Greedy Williams, Ty Zettner. They released a few other guys. They signed 5 other fringe players as well, and they signed Freddie Swain today and released Fred Johnson as well. All right, let's move it.
You got to say Miles Jack retired too.
Yeah, I forgot that twice. I forgot that on Portillo and Broad today and today. So yeah, Miles Jack also retired when we get to the linebacker, so he's no longer an option either. Any thoughts on the retirement of Miles Jack?
It was surprising to me. I mean, he did come out and say before the Eagles called him he was going to be like a plumber or something like that. So he was already kind of checked out. I mean, I don't know how it all works because I would assume that he doesn't get paid his vet minimum, right? For 2 weeks of practice or whatever it may be. Like because you retire, you have to give back that money, right?
Well, you would get paid. I think you get paid per, like they have it set up that it's spread out anyhow. So he get paid per day. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He'll make whatever $1,000. It's probably a quick $100,000 though, I'd say, or $50,000, something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm like my real afterthought is like some of these guys who we thought were on the bubble of making the roster are starting to get locked in to the roster because of other players getting injured. Like I thought Zach Cunningham, is it him or Miles Jack? Now I know it's Zach Cunningham because Miles Jack is not there to really put forth that competition for the third or fourth linebacker to be rostered.
Yeah, he discussed like wanting to do other things in his life when he was at home. So it's kind of like he was like already in his head on the way out. And I think once the other linebackers that you're talking about started to jump him and he realized, oh man, I'm not going to make this team.
Yeah.
He was done. But it is kind of criminal that he can just come in for 2 weeks and make significant money. So criminal that I got the guy to call for criminal law. And his name is David R. Cherry, Esquire. Hold on, let me get this this banner off. Oh man, I hate when that happens. Anyway, go to David R. Cherry, Esquire. Call him now, 610-565-0300. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury law, criminal law, www.cherryinjurylaw.com. We will give you a second one, David, later. Sorry I botched that. I had that banner up in the middle of it, but thank you very much for your sponsorship. We appreciate it all. All right. Sorry about that.
No, the segue into that ad was perfect.
The segue was great, and then I forgot to have the banner off. I'm so mad I messed it up. But
that's okay.
That was I did. I was like, dude, I'm gonna nail this, and then I screwed it up. So we'll bring you back up again later. David Cherry Law Firm, the best law firm. Call them today, 610-565-0300. All right, on to the wide receiving core. Where did you go first last time? I'll go first this time. I think the first 4 are a lock. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Olamide Zaccheaus, known as Oz. And then you get into, are they going to keep 5? Or are they going to keep 6? Now, Britton Covey has not played or practiced, and he has a hamstring injury the entire preseason. And if you haven't noticed, they've been trying different return men the entire time. In the last preseason game, they had 5 different people return kicks and punts. 3 different punt returners and 2 different punt returners, 3 different kick returners. Today, they go out and sign Freddie Swain, who out of Florida, during the draft process, I thought he was similar to Wes Welker as far as like his attributes and the way he was shifty, all that type of stuff. He played for the Seahawks. He had a successful year. One year he was 3rd on the team in receiving yards. They signed him today. So I think there's a lot of question marks around Britton Covey. I'm going to say Britton Covey makes the team. I'm going to go with him at 5, but I'm going to add a 6th. And I'm going to say Freddie Swain lights it up tomorrow night and makes this roster. I was big on him. I wanted the Eagles to draft him. And when I saw he got signed today, I'm like, oh boy. He was under Brian Johnson at Florida. there are connections there. I just love him, and I think he can fit in this system. And I think if he can return the punts well, he would be better than Britton Covey because he can actually contribute on the field as a receiver as opposed to Covey. I just feel like he's going to get murdered. Like he can't even a fumble, something's going to happen. Though he was very sure-handed as a punt returner. Who do you got at receiver, Joe?
Real quick on the Swain thing. I saw the signing today, but I didn't read much into it. Was he with any other team this training camp?
I believe he was cut by the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. That's kind of where my head was at with that as well. Okay, yeah. First four, of course, AJ, Devontae, Quez, and Oz. And then my fifth, and I'm going to leave it at that, is Joseph Nagata. I mean, I think that they like this guy, and I think that he really, with enough opportunity, I think that he can be a pretty good option coming. I mean, of course, with Dallas Goedert, like he's already going to be, taking, some catches away from a fifth receiver anyway. So, I mean, I think he's more or less just a roster body for a dire need, but I think that they like him enough to keep him around. So that's my fifth guy, my fifth wide receiver.
Yeah, and Gatto was a huge person I was intrigued to know about. Out of Clemson, the knock on him is supposedly a separation, but big body. And I want him to make this team. I wonder if tomorrow night's a big night for him, that if he's going to get the bulk of the playing time, if he can, do what he needs to do to push himself over the hump, or has he done enough in practice as you might think that he's already made it? I agree with you. They do love him, and I would love to see a great outing from Ngata tomorrow night. Tight ends. I'll let you go. Yeah, you go first on the tight ends.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real, question mark here. Dallas Goedert, Stoll, and I'm going Grant Cancatella. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think those are the three to go with. Yeah, I don't see any of the other guys really, panning out. If they go three, I think those are the three they go with.
If they go three, I agree. I would go Calcaterra most likely. Howie doesn't want to. None of the other tight ends have stood out anyhow. Dan Arnold there, Tyree Jackson. How many years are we going to go on his upside? That just he had that.
Yeah, I love Tyree Jackson, and then with the injuries last year, I kind of just closed the book on him.
So, but for me, I'm going to go two tight ends here. I'm going to go Goddard and Jack Stoll. I think they're the two. If there is three, I would agree with you. It'd be Calcaterra. Moving over to the offensive line, I think the starting five pretty much is a lock. Then it gets a little hairy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, obviously, Lane Johnson's your starting left tackle or right tackle. Cam Jurgens at guard, Kelsey, Landon Dickerson, then Jordan Mailata to bookend that at right tackle. I have the Eagles keeping 10 offensive linemen this year because I feel like there's so many question marks on the backups. I know Cam Jurgens could technically back up Jason Kelsey if he were to get hurt, but I think the way the Eagles operate and the way Stoutland is they don't like bringing two people out of position when an injury happens, especially in the middle of the game. So for that reason, I think Josh Andrews makes this team strictly for the fact that in a mid-game injury, he would go in at center, and then maybe the following week they would make adjustments with Jurgens and Steen and try to work it out that way. So I got Josh Andrews making this team. Tyler Steen, obviously. Jack Driscoll has been accustomed to moving around that line. He can plug and play everywhere. He's probably your backup tackle, but he can be used at guard as needed. Then I'm going to go Sua Opeta. Hasn't had the greatest camp. They seem to like him. And then my 10th guy actually got cut today, Fred Johnson. And I think this may be a Howie move where he cuts the guy right before the preseason. You got, 24 hours to pick him up type of thing. And then by then, no one's going to pick him up to not play in the preseason game. So then Howie would then go ahead and sign him Friday after he cuts whoever he needs to get Freddie Swain on the roster and not lose another roster spot. The reason I like Fred Johnson, A, his name's Fred, and then B, he's a veteran left tackle in this league. He's had 28, 29 games under his belt. He's the only left tackle that's a pure left tackle. He's like 6'2", 280, I think, or maybe 3. I forget the weight. He's got the body type anyhow. So that's my 5 reserves. But 10 offensive linemen, it's a lot. Normally they keep 9, maybe 8. I think they go 10. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I got them going with 9. Obviously, the starting 5 are where it's at. I got Steen, Opeta, Driscoll, and I got them keeping Sills. This is another guy who I think that they really like. He didn't murder anyone. He was he was found innocent, so they brought him back instantly. You're not bringing somebody back that quickly if you don't like them a lot. So I do think that they keep Sills. So I think that they go with 9, not 10.
I like Sills. I think there's a way they can cut him and get him on the practice squad, but I absolutely agree with you. He has had a rough camp, but I think they do like him a lot. I agree. Exactly. They picked him up immediately. It wasn't even like a thought process on it. So moving over to, we did the wide receivers. The defensive line. All
yes.
Right. So you can kick us off there. And I just want to let everyone know that we divided it the way the Eagles do it. So though like Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith and all them would be on the defensive line as an edge rusher at times, we put them into the linebacker category.
Yes.
With that said, so go ahead with the defensive line.
Yeah, my defensive line, I got a total of 8 because of the reason you just said. I got BG, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, and Josh Sweat. And then as the reserves, I got Milton Williams, Derek Barnett, and Morrow Orogio, however you say his last name. And yeah, of course, because they'll line Reddick up on the edge, they'll probably throw some Nolan Smith in there on the edge. That's why I have him going with 8 defensive linemen. I really wanted to take Derek Barnett out of this. We all know the quote from last year. It's always him. It seems that he is a cancer on the practice field. He was in flight 1 the other day against the Colts. I think he punched Anthony Richardson in the head. So I think that the Eagles would love to get rid of this guy, but he has like a $12 or $13 million cap hit. And it does come down to business on some sides of these things. So unfortunately, I do think that he makes the roster, but I think that the Eagles just cannot wait for this season to be done to rid themselves of this guy.
I couldn't agree more with you on the Derek Barnett contract. It annoys the ever-living crap out of me that he's on this team. He's always starting crap. He can't, he's actually under contract next year too, Joe.
Is he really? Oh, my God.
The cap hit's $5.4 million next year.
That's easier to get out of that one.
The dead cap's $12 million, but we know how dead cap works. You don't really have to pay that.
Right.
It's actually, I'll pull it up. He's actually, if he's an IR hit, injured reserve, I don't know. There's different quirks. How he could get him off the roster, there's probably ways he can do it. I agree with you, though, but for some reason, they keep playing him. If he was not in their good graces, they would have other guys in these positions. But why is he's getting penalties at practice. He's always involved with this nonsense. I'm with you, but he does make the roster. So I think I'm borderline spot on with you. BG, Cox, Carter, Sweat, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Derek Barnett, Moro Ajomo. I think they really like him. He's had a lot of push. He's had a great camp. I also think I'm going to say they keep 9. They go with Marlon Tupolulotu. He
was on the bubble for me, yeah.
I really think they like him. He's had a solid camp. I don't think he can get through the practice squad, but I do think they keep him as well. A couple potential bubble guys for tomorrow night, Taron Jackson and Kentavious Street. I think they really like Taron Jackson too. He's had some burst off the edge in games, and Street he's been in the league 5 years. He had 3.5 sacks last year. I don't know that he makes it, but I really think he's definitely in the conversation. So that's my defensive line. We'll move over to linebacker, and I have the Eagles keeping 8 linebackers.
Wow.
So I'm gonna a lot of it's the edge rusher and the way they move Patrick Johnson around. So I'm gonna go with Dean and N'Kobe. So really 4, I guess you would say, linebackers, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The others are edge type guys. So N'Kobe Dean, obviously, Zach Cunningham, by all accounts, it looks like he may even end up passing Morrow for the 1. And then Christian Ellis. They love Christian Ellis. He's had a great camp. He's pushed to be the starter at times. I think he makes this team. And then Morrow has a relationship with Sean Desai from the Bears. I think they're going to keep him in here. He knows the system, and they'll have a good reserve with him. And then on the edge, you got Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, and then Patrick Johnson, I think, is on the bubble, but they've been able to move him around in and outside in previous years. I think he stays, and they keep Patrick Johnson as well.
Okay, yeah, I'm only keeping 5 really. I got Reddick, Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham, Nolan Smith, and Christian Ellis, and that's even with Nolan Smith and Reddick, possibly lining up on the edge at moments. Yeah, I see other guys who can step up and play that type of center field, like a Sidney Brown. They'll have him labeled as a safety, and again, the Eagles don't value the linebacker position as much as we want them to, even though they've shown flashes of it with Nakobe Dean and the Miles Jack, Zach Cunningham. But for them to give up 8 roster spots for the position, I don't see it happening.
And again, it's more 4 as far as linebackers go for me. The other ones are edge rushers. So, you know what I mean? I'm separating the two kind of. Traditionally, they don't give a crap about the middle linebacker. They do edge rushers. So I think that's where you brought it up in the text message, they got him listed as Sam, Reddick and Patrick Johnson and Nolan Smith. But really, are they strong side linebackers? No.
Right.
They're edge rushers. So
if
anything out of the 4 I got, Morrow might get cut, but I think they end up keeping him. But that's when we say 8, I think that's a little not really the deal because it's kind of.
It's a little skewed. I get it.
But, moving to cornerback, which is a huge one, dude. And Zach McPherson going down kind of made it even more a possibility of these young guys getting in there.
Yep.
What's you went first? Yeah, you go first on the corner.
I mean, the obvious ones are Darius Slay, Bradbury, Maddox. I got Josh Jobe making it. I got Keely Ringo making it. And I got Eli Ricks making it. I got them all. I got them only going with 6. I don't know why.
No, I got them going with 6. My
okay.
6 is a little different though. I got Bradbury, Slay, Maddox. Ringo makes the team because he's a 3rd or 4th round pick or a 3rd round.
Right.
Pick.
4th round.
He is.
And they traded a 4th round pick for him.
So okay, gotcha. So and I watched him at Georgia, and I understood him not going in the. I didn't understand how he was a 1st round pick when they were projected.
Right.
To be honest, so I kind of understood the fall, and I don't think he's looked good at all in camp. And there's rumors he would eventually go to safety, but this year's not the year. Obviously, they're going to keep him though because of the high pick. Josh Jobe, no doubt about it. All accounts, he's been outstanding. He's your first outside backup corner. I think Mekhi Gardner makes it over Eli Ricks. I think they love Eli Ricks, though. I think it's going to be a tough battle. I think Gardner on the special teams might give him the edge. And then the other guy I have making it is Mario Goodrich. He's really their only guy that they have him in nickel, playing a lot of nickel. He's the only slot backup. And with Zach McPherson going down, I think he's your backup. Though they have been playing Bradbury at the slot. Because if Maddox goes down, you saw it last year. We had C.J. Gardner-Johnson down, Maddox down. Like, that's a huge hole. I think they'll keep Goodrich instead there. So my 6, Bradbury, Slay, Maddox, Jobe, Goodrich, Garner, and Ringo.
One of the things I read was the reason that they are giving Bradbury some snaps in the slot. It's not just for precautionary if Maddox goes down, is because they know Jobe can step in as an outside linebacker, and they want Bradbury to be able to cover the bigger, more physical tight ends, like a Travis Kelce, who we know that we play, Darren Waller, who we're now going to see twice with the Giants. Like, they need. Like, these are bigger guys. Like, these are wide receivers turned tight ends and vice versa, and they need a bigger guy to be able to cover these guys, and Avonte Maddox is not it.
That's a very valid point, and I was wondering if it's an experiment. I know I was reading how he had a lot of questions. He's learning. So, yeah, that very well may be the case as well. Moving on to safety. I'm first on this one.
Yep.
Reed Blankenship is lock. He's 100% a lock. Sidney Brown is a lock. He's on the team. Where it comes down to, I think, is Evans, and then Kayvon Wallace. Kayvon Wallace has had a great camp, and I think he's done well and even put himself in the category to start at points, but you've seen that slowly diminish. I think Kayvon Wallace, this is it. He gets cut from this team. They keep Terrell Edmonds and what's it? Javon? Why do I keep getting the first name mixed up? Evans' first name. Justin. I keep thinking
Justin Evans.
Jari Evans from before. So Justin Evans, I think, makes this team, and he's been getting reps with the wrong ones as well. So I think he has a potential to start as well. I'm really interested if it's Edmonds or Evans that starts, but I think Kayvon Wallace has proven he cannot cover. The Eagles know this. He plays special teams though, so maybe he does make it. But I'm going to go with these four as my safeties.
Yeah, I got pretty much spot on, except for I have Kayvon Wallace making it for the special teams aspect of it. Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, and Terrell Edmonds, and then Kayvon Wallace for special teams reasons.
Got it. Kicker, Elliott, that's a done deal. Lovato, the long snapper, done deal. Yep. Punter, who do you got for punter?
I do have Sippis. Going into the final preseason game, I don't see how they go out and try and test out another leg. This guy has experience with us. I can't see any scenario where Sippis is not our guy, not our punter.
I'm going to go. I disagree with you on that. I think Sippis is there as a placeholder now. He may very well end up being the guy. We know what he is, but there's multiple teams with two punters right now.
Sure.
And I think the Eagles are looking around. I know they put in a waiver claim for Brett Maynard from the Steelers. The Steelers ended up getting him. They still have two punters in there. So if that guy gets cut, I think the Eagles are going to be looking for him. And Sippos as much as said it when he was interviewed. He's like, oh, no, I don't have a job. He made it clear he knows that. He didn't say because they know he's still working hard.
Right.
So I'm going to say it's not the starting punter is not on the roster as it stands now.
Okay.
But that was good, dude. We got through that in like 45 minutes. That was good, Joe. Good stuff. I like
it.
I liked we disagreed on some. We got Colts and Eagles tomorrow night. Anything in that game that you're looking forward to see from the reserves we have left? Anyone on the bubble maybe that, could put their way into your 53 if they have a big game?
You see, I really do like Josh Andrews as well. I do think that he'll, get significant playing time. See, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. You said, oh no, Fred Johnson. They cut. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting my guys mixed up. Josh Andrews, I do think that he was a bubble guy for me. It's just for the fact that I know how much that they like Sills that I went that direction. Could I see him playing onto a roster spot and they go, 10, 10 offensive linemen? Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there could be a Calcaterra who doesn't make it. I mean, there could be one of these guys who just, hell, Derek Barnett might not be, like there are guys who, could play themselves right out of a spot tomorrow. If it's Josh, it'd be great. I'm still a little, about Dennis Kelly. I wonder if they brought him back. This is a guy who they liked, who they ended up trading, X amount of years ago, brought him back. I don't know if it was to see what he had left in the tank because there's still talks about, guard depth. That's a guy who's interesting to see if he plays his way into a roster spot. There are certainly, it's still decisions to be made. Is there anyone that you're going to keep an eye on? And hell, even Ngata. I want to see what he's got tomorrow night too.
Ngata is one that I definitely agree with because he was like on my my radar, and then I kind of jumped off the train, and now you kind of got me wanting to like get back on the train and kind of. So Ngata is someone I'm looking to see have a good game. Freddie Swain is someone I'm looking.
Oh yeah. That'd be nice.
I picked him to make the team, so I want to see him run the offense, play actual receiver as well as return man. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Taron Jackson's an edge rusher. I was going back and forth on. I think, to the point of Derek Barnett being cut, if he could show some stuff. Ben Van Sumeren, he's all over the place. He reminds me of Alex Singleton. I don't think he's going to make the roster, but I think he's playing himself his way onto a practice squad if he can have a good game. But I think of all the roster spots, it's Mekhi Gardner versus Eli Ricks tomorrow night. Between them two, they're going to make one of them two will make this roster. And that one, if one has 2 picks and 5 tackles, and the other one got beat twice, that may be the difference. So that's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I'm excited.
Yeah, and Mario Goodrich, who you named, who you think makes the roster, he's another guy who I can see fighting for a roster spot. So I mean, there's absolutely a handful of guys I want to be watching for tomorrow.
With you. One more, I just want to, because I forgot to mention him, Contavious Street.
Yes.
He'll be playing. He's a defensive lineman in there. And then there's guys that can maybe lose their spot, like Tuipulotu, or I doubt Amojo. He could. Moro Ajomo could lose his spot if
he's got a concussion, so I don't even know if he's going to play.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
You're right. Now I'm remembering that. You're right. So that's not one then, but that gives more of Contavious Street an opportunity to actually get more playing time. You got a bunch of other guys that are just going to suck up time. Marvin Williams, Caleb Sanders, some guys they sign I don't see. Kyron Johnson's another edge rusher that might make waves. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. Any other things for tonight? Do we have any Sixers updates or craziness with that? They fined him $100,000, but they're fighting it.
I don't have any breath to waste on that situation right now.
I couldn't agree more. Well, that'll be all for tonight. I promise. I want to thank our sponsors again: PhillySportsShirts.com, Sherry'sTickets.com, and one more time since I botched it: David R. Cherry, Esquire, Workers' Compensation, Motor Vehicle Accidents, Personal Injury Law, Criminal Law. www.cherryinjurylaw.com. Call 610-565-0300. We got one more comment coming in. Let's see who that is. Good stuff, guys. Quentin Moore, thanks for listening. Appreciate your support.
Thanks, dude.
Really appreciate it. E-Money Bentley, you were listening to Party on Broad earlier. I'm glad you followed us on to the Edge of Philly tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the support. We love you all. We'll be back next week, 9:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. once again. And again, just go to Edge of Philly Sports YouTube, subscribe. We have so much content, so many shows, so much good guests. Give us a follow, give us a share. For Joe Sheeran, I'm Freddie Burns. We will see you next week. Go Birds.